All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's broadcast. Thanks for being here with us. I'm so excited to bring you to today's guest, and this is Dr. Justin Ohm. You can see him on the screen. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing great. How are you, Phil?
Good, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Looking forward, like I said, to our discussion today. Before we get started, I wanted to make sure everybody knows of our upcoming events. Well, we have one of the reasons we have Justin on here today is because we've created an event for you that's coming up next weekend. It's going to be spectacular, but it is sold out at this point. I do not have any more room in the building. The lunch is sold out. We're going to be down in Shell Beach, and in large part, that's due to the sponsorship and the support that we've gotten from Justin and the ICPA group. So thank you so much for all of that. It's going to be a tremendous weekend. If you missed it this year, make sure you put it on your calendar. I think we'll be able to do it again next year based on this year's results. And or maybe we can have like a black market for tickets for this or something.
You show up in the parking lot and you can get a scalper.
I've seen that happen at like Parker. People start posting them all over the place, like, "Hey, I'll sell you my ticket," and all that kind of thing. So, but we'll see. But yeah, other than that, we have our PI for All conference coming up in June. So if that's something that resonates with you, if you're doing a PI practice, highly encourage you to come down to that event. Another great venue. So looking forward to that as well. That should be phenomenal. And then, as we've been talking about all year long, our fall conference is coming up in Disneyland, August 28th. So that's going to be a great event. I just we just talked about the president's reception, which I guess is my reception that's going to be going on. We're going to do a live auction there. Maybe I'll talk to you about the live auction because I think that's one of the funnest things we did last year at the conference was the live auction, raised a bunch of money. Consultants and groups donated time, services, consulting, all that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun. But let's get on with today's conversation. And Justin, if people don't know you, give us a brief introduction. It'd be hard, I think, for them not to know you, but let's go ahead and you just tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Justin Ohm. I'm a second-generation chiropractor. I graduated Palmer, Florida in 2006. Both my parents graduated a small school up in the northeast called ADIO, and ADIO was later rebranded Pennsylvania Straight Chiropractic, which was then later absorbed by Sherman.
Okay.
So I grew up in chiropractic, and my parents had me actually when they were still in school. So they have a picture of me with them in their cap and gowns, and I'm in my little cap and gown, graduating. And so I always tell people I went through chiropractic school twice.
Nice.
So, and I remember when I was, really kind of fretting it, when I went through chiropractic school for real, I went down to Palmer, Florida, and I was stressing over boards and everything. My mom said, "Don't worry about it. It's all in your subconscious," So I graduated, almost 20 years ago, started practicing with my parents, quickly opened a second practice in South Philadelphia, and have been kind of serving the families in those two communities in South Philadelphia, and then Media, which is a small suburb outside of the city. In 2019, I stepped in as the executive director for the ICPA, and then immediately got hit in the face with 2020 and all the craziness, and navigated through a lot of that, and we've seen tremendous growth since then, even, and obviously over the past 20 years, and it's going great as an organization. We're coming up on 10,000 members at this point, so that's going to be a great event when we hit that mark. We've been striving for that for some time. So ICPA is doing great work. Research, training, and public education are kind of the three pillars of our stool. And, the public education is primarily, you can see the corner of the screen up there, the Pathways logo up there. That's the Pathways magazine. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. The research obviously is the PBRNs that we do and all the case studies, and Joel Alcantara, our research director, puts a lot of that stuff out. And then the training is the certifications, Webster, perinatal, pediatric, and then obviously our diplomate program as well.
Man, that's amazing. Like to hear what you've accomplished and all the work that you're doing. So kudos to you in that regard. I want to talk a little bit about why you think or why you were compelled to help us bring this pediatric education to California and that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think, a lot of times when you're a student, you get exposed to, different styles of practice, and then you find yourself practicing and you're kind of on that path.
Sure.
I remember when I first went to chiropractic school, I thought, oh, I'm going to be a sports chiropractor. A lot of people kind of think that way. And it was only because of my ties to the ICPA through my mom and the relationship with a lot of the instructors that kind of steered me in the direction of family care and pediatrics and perinatal care. And I think it's a hugely rewarding and very successful way to practice. These families need us right now.
For sure.
They're absolutely being failed by the pediatric, kind of medical model, and obviously the obstetrical model in a lot of circumstances. I don't want to paint a broad brush. Obviously, there's outstanding medical professionals in both of those fields, but I think I just don't think they're equipped for the needs of the families today. And so the reason for reaching out to CalChiro and other state associations is to try to, just kind of highlight that, to show that there's this other style of practice, that you're taking care of kids, you're taking care of pregnant moms. It's a very low key style of practice. It's a very rewarding style of practice. And so that's obviously part of our mission, to kind of spread that message and spread that awareness with as many chiropractors as possible. So, we hope the people at the CalChiro event next weekend, tiny spines, big potential, I think is the tagline. I think, I really hope that they're inspired. And if they're not already in that realm of family care, that it sparks an interest, and you never know, like BJ said, how far reaching something we can say today might affect the lives. So that's what we're doing, is we're trying to just kind of spread that message with as many chiropractors as possible.
Talk a little bit about the educational opportunity that you provide, and what that looks like for people, because like you said, I think there is so much to learn. We don't get taught a ton of that, in school, and I've been at it 20 years, and I feel like I continue to learn all the time. I'm looking forward to learning next week, from some of the presenters that you have coming to visit us.
Yeah, I think, you graduate chiropractic school and, they prepare you to see all populations, but in a very broad kind of sense. And what you find out very quickly is when you get a name for yourself for, taking care of pregnant moms, or even if you're just the chiropractor in your community who's comfortable seeing pregnant moms, because a lot of chiropractors aren't, or the chiropractor who's comfortable seeing a newborn, pretty soon that reputation gets out and you get more and more pregnancy and pediatric patients. And it's just a matter of time before one of those cases come in where it's a little bit more complex, or, you're managing a mom and things don't go great. How do you deal with that? How do you help to, kind of bring her through that process? And of course, I'm thinking about the recent figures that came out highlighting California specifically in terms of, I think it's 1 out of 12 and a half boys in the state of California are somewhere on that spectrum. How do you manage those kids? Is the kind of generic care that we're used to giving to adults, is that applicable in all circumstances? And what you find out very quickly is like, wow, there's gaps in this knowledge. And I want to fill those gaps. And so learning obviously is a lifelong endeavor, and we can kind of dive into any of those topics, but that's what the curriculum throughout the ICPA is all about, is filling those gaps. It's really not about the letters. I mean, I know a lot of people might be kind of motivated to get this certification or that certification or whatever string of letters after your name. it's about the certainty in practice. It's about being comfortable and confident taking care of those kids so that you are that kind of beacon, that you are that resource, in your community for these families who really, really need us. So that's kind of the idea. ICPA has, the 4 certifications, and they all build on each other. So what a lot of chiropractors with their first exposure to the ICPA is the Webster certification, which obviously has a big name and a lot of people are familiar with that. That's kind of the preeminent technique that we like to say, is for pregnancy. But it's really applicable as an analysis tool on all populations, pregnant or not, male or female. So it's a really kind of, it's a great way to kind of create a better understanding of pelvic biodynamics. And, when we kind of can assess the pelvis like this, it gives us a great opportunity to take care of that mom and set the stage for a birth. If at that point, you find yourself, oh my gosh, well, what do I do in the postpartum period? Webster touched on that, but it didn't go. Then you can say, okay, I want to go on. I want to take that perinatal certification and kind of fill in the gaps. And obviously we encourage people to just kind of pick and choose as well. You don't have to go all out. And you say, wow, that class specifically, that one speaks to me. I really want to kind of learn more about the neurodevelopmental challenges or the preconception, kind of model of care. So there's, I think, a flavor for everyone, but that's the general idea, is to kind of fill the gaps that I think, not intentionally, schools have to teach a lot of stuff. It's not that they want to kind of skip out on these things. This is going more in depth for these subjects, and it's needed when you're taking care of those populations.
And I think that's so important. Like you said, it's certainly something I've learned. We've been working with Dan Bronstein, and he's a friend of both of ours, and I've learned a lot about that from him in terms of seeing chiropractic, the ICPA professionals as specialists and things of that nature. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about collaborating with not only people with inside of our profession, but then outside of our profession. Because as you were talking there, I was thinking about all of the referrals that I get from gynecologists, because I've been around this profession my whole life too. We've been, we always got adjusted, we always got checked, kind of thing. Oh, sorry, not sure what that was. Emergency alert about something.
Yeah.
But, so anyways, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. He really brings up all the time in terms of, if you're not comfortable with patient populations, what are the resources for referral, and maybe how do people find people that are part of your membership, and then just in general collaborating with other medical professionals in this realm.
Yeah, well, I mean, to answer the first part of that question, I think, and that's really one of the main benefits of being an ICPA member, is that you're listed on the ICPA referral directory. And so when you search for, Webster certified chiropractor in my area or whatever, the ICPA directory is, if not at the very top, near the top of that list. And that's kind of my first go-to. If I have a patient or if I have a family who's moving out of the area, I'm going to the ICPA directory to find them a chiropractor who's gone through at least some of that training in their new area. So I can kind of be assured that they're going to be taken care of in the way that I was, kind of trying to take care of them. In terms of branching out and getting those connections with providers in your community, we're finding that chiropractors, especially ICPA members, chiropractors who are focusing on family care, they're often the wealth of knowledge, the resource for those families to know the more gentle kind of holistic OBGYN, to know the different midwives in the area that are, comfortable doing home births, et cetera, to know the doula network, to know the lactation support network, to know the pediatricians, in the area who are more open-minded or more, kind of holistic in their approach. So finding those connections in your community is kind of a natural repercussion of working with these families. You're going to hear who they had a really great experience with, and then you become kind of a dynamic relationship with those providers. And like I said, I hate to paint too broad of a brush, because there are great medical practitioners out there.
Sure.
But we need to know who they are so that we can send our families to them, so that they're seeing that, that kind of care, and they're being supported in their health journey instead of just kind of, treated like a number, et cetera. And so you'll start to kind of be keen on, okay, what are the different hospitals in my area? What are their C-section rates? Are they open to, collaborating in care? So very early on in practice, when I kind of first joined my parents' practice, midwives were a large referral source. They were sending in people. And I think that's because midwives knew and heard of the Webster technique, and they saw in their own, patients, and their own moms that they were, helping deliver, that, wow, these deliveries go a lot smoother when they're under chiropractic care, right?
Yeah.
And so midwives kind of got that first. But what's happened in my career in the last, 15, 20 years is that OBGYNs know that name, the Webster technique. OBGYNs have had that experience too, where they've collaborated. Oh, okay, this patient's been under chiropractic care. And whether they're for that or against that or whatever, they're seeing the outcomes of that. They're seeing how those birth outcomes go. And they're starting to put it together. Wow, these are easier births. These are births that kind of tend to go quite a bit more smoothly. And they can't deny that. And they don't want to deny it. They really don't have much that they can offer when you talk about a mom whose baby isn't in the best position, or a mom who's been dealing with, pubic symphysis dysfunction or SI joint dysfunction, these types of things. And so they want chiropractors in their network, that they can send these moms to, that they can trust. Oh, wow, this chiropractor's gone out and taken, they've accomplished additional training. I'm more comfortable sending my patients to them. And so that's, I think, the kind of relationship that's happening in a lot of communities. And now it's at the point where, midwives were referring patients in, but, now at this point, I have OBGYNs referring patients in.
I do too.
Kind of
I have a OBGYN right next door, and she'll probably, she's moved more into just gynecology now and gotten out of obstetrics. But when she was in obstetrics, she sent me 4 to 5 new patients a month. And I was just sitting here thinking, in this, as you're talking about that, what kind of resources does your organization or your website have for, let's say, some of our new practitioners to do some of that outreach and some of that collaboration? Because I think what you were just talking about right there, if you're thinking about getting into pediatric care and you aren't sure how do you market yourself, how do you get yourself, make people aware of your services, like you just gave us the blueprint right there, man. Like go out and meet those people, right? And deliver them ICPA materials and do all those kind of things. And so can you just touch on that a little bit in terms of what resources you have in that regard?
Yeah. Well, another membership benefit is that you're invited into the private ICPA Facebook practitioners group. And in that group, there's just so much gold being shared. I mean, it really is a group of just giving chiropractors. Nobody's competing with each other. Here, this is the letter that I use, to kind of introduce myself to the OBGYN in the area. This is the letter that I send out routinely to the pediatrician when I take on a new patient. Just kind of, introducing yourself and highlighting that we're co-managing and what your objective is, that you're not trying to kind of, kind of veer out of your scope. And so that stuff it's just packed with that kind of stuff. And I think it's really kind of a network of mentors too. So it's not like if a young doc is coming into the ICPA and they're asking for help, they're going to get it. You know what I mean? The other thing that you get is you get the Pathways magazine, which is like you get the actual physical copy. And believe me, it's hard to keep a physical magazine, business endeavor viable. But we're committed to doing it because it's something that you can have in your practice, that's sitting out on the table. And that was really the initial motivation is my mom started that magazine, over 20 years ago. And she was just sick and tired of even the National Geographics or the, more kind of benign magazines that you could have out in the office, in the waiting room. They're loaded with pharmaceutical ads, and she just wanted something that had the content that was introducing the ideas that didn't have the pharmaceutical ads. And so she created it, and so that's the Pathways magazine. You get an issue every quarter. It's a high quality, really great kind of, there's no advertising in it. It's all just great articles. And it's not a chiropractic specific magazine, meaning it doesn't kind of pigeonhole itself into only that category. It really is kind of a family wellness magazine, and it talks about, natural birthing and homeschooling and, alternative, kind of ways of raising your kids. And it really appeals to this kind of, patient base that I think a lot of us are seeing in practice.
Sure.
However, all of those articles kind of tie back into the chiropractic message. And that's the message of, trusting the body. The body knows what it's doing. It's, it's a self-healing organism. And this is like, a lot of people haven't been exposed to this message, and when they really get that message, they really kind of understand the benefit, the value of chiropractic on an ongoing basis, rather than just for when my baby's breech, or just for when my, toddler's, suffering from an ear infection. It's like, no, ongoing wellness-based care and a salutogenic mindset. So all of those articles kind of espouse that type of message, but kind of in a sly, roundabout way, that it's not like boom right in their face. Does that make sense? So I think
Absolutely.
it kind of appeals to a more broad audience in that sense. And so the other thing that we offer is, like, if you want more of these magazines, to drop 5 off in your OBGYN's office, and 10 off over in this pediatrician's office, we sell them, in bulk quantities at cost or near at cost, because we just want the message getting out there. Like I said, the Pathways magazine, that's kind of a loss leader for us, but it's just getting that chiropractic message out there, that kind of, trusting the body. And that's really what can kind of change the trajectory, if you will, for a family who's been kind of stuck in the rut of treatment-based, symptom care, to really kind of find that empowering, voice, and be able to start kind of making informed healthcare decisions for their family. So, and then we send out like social media, kind of graphics that people can use on their own pages. And that was like, we were putting that stuff out ourselves. And I said, we should really kind of just be hand delivering this, pre-packaged, for people to kind of be able to put this out on their own social media. As you can add your own logo and your own practice, and everyone starts, pushing that stuff out as well. So there's a bunch of resources like that kind of help the young chiropractor. A lot of us have gone through the learning curve, and so, packaging that up and saying, okay, here's the parameters that you can really help you become successful in practice. And obviously, I think, going back to the beginning, it's really all about having that clinical certainty, having that kind of that ability to have confidence in your care, to be able to kind of explain what you're doing, to create that connection and that trust with both mom and with baby. Because a lot of people think, oh, when I'm taking care of a baby, that must be easier. I don't have to even do the consult with them. No, you have to actually connect with them more than if you're, just seeing an adult. An adult, you have, language. You have to kind of connect with that infant, energetically almost. I mean, you have to kind of make sure you're making eye contact with. They're picking up on every little bit of that. So if you're unsure of yourself, and if you're nervous, they're picking up on that as well. So these are all kind of the things that we kind of go throughout the ICPA training. And I think it really does put a lot of people onto the right path in terms of a practice.
I love that idea, man, of using the Pathways magazine as a leave behind. That's a great marketing tool, like you said, right there, and a way to get you in people's doors. And I mean, I just have so much respect for what you are doing and what you have done, and obviously what your mom has, done, and all of that kind of stuff, and creating the organization. Is there anything else we should know about the organization, what you have going on, and what the organization has going on here in the near future?
Well, the ICPA was started in 1986. So next year will be our 40th anniversary, if my math is correct. And we plan on having an ICPA gathering, a larger event down in Washington, D.C. This is kind of our typical location where we have our larger events. And that is May of next year.
Okay.
You can check that out on our website, ICPA4kids.com, the number 4 and then KIDS. Oh, yep. So we threw it right in there. And just click up at the top on events, and you'll see that event listed there. So that's going to be a big party, because 40 years, that's we're a longer standing organization here. We're thriving. We're doing really well. And I would encourage people, if you haven't signed up, if you're not going to the Tiny Spines Big Potential this year, Dan and I, Phil, we've been talking behind the scenes, and whether you like it or not, I think we're going to have to push for this to be a regular event. And I think that's what this first year is all about, is kind of setting a tone and then kind of carrying this forward and really kind of bringing this content, this kind of training, this kind of message forward to California and to other states, really anywhere, but on a regular basis. That would be our goal.
Well, I'll be here next year, and with this kind of proof of concept, I'll be pushing for it too. So don't worry, we're gonna try to keep it happen on the regular. Well, thank you, man, so much for all that you're doing for the profession. Like I said, just working with you in this regard has given me so much respect and admiration for you. So, but let's try to give away some money. Hopefully, you can hang on for a few minutes while we give away some money.
Sure.
Tiffany, let's bring up the wheel, and we're gonna have 4 spins of the wheel today. Let's go ahead and spin. Stephen Smith, you are name number 1. Let's see if Stephen's on here with us today and is here to collect his $400. I guess I should have said that, $400 up for today. Stephen Smith, you've got 15 seconds. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate all your support for this event. It's been tremendous working with you and just all of the folks that you're sending out our way to be speakers. So really appreciate that. Can't tell you how grateful I am. We'll just see if Stephen chimes in here. We got a little bit of a delay, they always tell me, so I got to try to string her along the conversation just a little bit more. But I don't see Stephen in the chat, so I think we're ready for name number 2. It was pandemonium. Mark Gorbon, you are name number 2. You have 30 seconds to claim your prize. It sounds like somebody's chiming in the chat. Do you have something coming up in San Diego in June? Is that an ICPA event?
Yeah, that's the Webster training coming up in June in Carlsbad. Thank you, Rich, for reminding me about that, to bring that up. And then up in San Francisco, we have a series that's currently going as well. So those are kind of our 2 kind of main locations.
Nice. All right. Well, I don't see Mark here today, and we'll go ahead and spin name number 3 whenever Tiffany's ready. San Francisco and or San Diego in the chat. That would be great. They can come up on the screen. Kelly Davey, you are name number 3. Kelly Davey, you have 30 seconds to come and claim your prize. So that's good to know. I think if you aren't able to join us for Tiny Spines Big Potential next weekend, you could catch the ICPA in June. It sounds like in San Diego. And when's the San Francisco event, Justin?
So I'm just looking at it now. The June Webster certification is June 7th and 8th. Dr. Steph Libbs, who's actually, joining you guys for the Tiny Spines event, she'll be down there teaching that. And then we follow up in August, early August, with Michael Hall. He teaches kind of the pediatric nervous system course for us. And then, it continues from there, September, October.
Great.
So that is that. And then San Francisco, we have right now. The next one is July, and that's cranial cord.
We went with name number 4 while we were talking. So Adrian Pujiyana, you are name number 4. I know Adrian, not sure if he's on here today. People might be wanting to reach out to him. He's one of our district leaders down south. So let him know he's won some money. He's got to get on here quick though. But thanks again, man, for being on here. Super excited for next week. Like I said, all the people that I've interacted with, Steph, Dan, obviously, Peter Kevorkian. I'm really excited to hear from Ian Schulman. It sounds like he's highly sought after. So thank you so much for flying him out here. And really appreciate your time today. It doesn't look like, I don't see Adrian on here. I'll wait.
You gotta spin it again.
What's that? I'm sorry, bud.
You got to spin it again.
Oh no, well, only 4 names today because there's only $400. Next week though will be $500, and
Oh,
it'll
it
be
carries
5
over.
names. So the price goes up if you're not here. That's why it's always good to. It makes it a little fun. You got to be on here to win. So, well, thanks again so much for being on here today. Thanks everybody for joining us. And next week we'll do it again. Make sure to check out our PI for All conference in June and Justin's stuff going on down in San Diego on the ICPA website. And as always, if you need anything or any need to talk with me, feel free to reach out. So thanks again, Justin.
Thanks a lot, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Take care.